All right, it's time for another episode of the PEBAheads. You got Scott and myself here, and we're gonna go over some draft preview since we got the draft coming up this weekend. And
There's a draft
maybe,
coming up.
well, apparently it was a shock to some people. I don't know how. I thought the board did a pretty good job of posting the schedule, but hey,
I do have
it's
the
here.
schedule bookmarked in my computer, and I look at it periodically just to make sure I got a good idea what's coming up. And this is obviously this weekend, big deal draft, right? Um, it's a big deal for me because I don't think I had a first round pick last year. I don't even think I had a second round pick last year, but I got, I traded away my third. So I got a first, second, then fourth and fifth. So it's going to be exciting. I really like the draft pool. You and I have discussed this. It seems loaded. You know, I think there are going to be some good players available at the end of the first round for us. Really looking forward to this draft.
I'm just happy that I don't have a wedding going on or any other some major event, and I kind of will laugh at anybody that claims that they're busy on the, and it's like, well, what do you got? Are you getting married that weekend? No. Well, then what do you don't have an excuse.
I
But
hear you.
it's great that we get at least the way that and I know other leagues have other ways of doing it that make it easier too, but at least we have the ability to enter a list. So if you aren't there, you're not getting auto picked off of the game's list or, whoever's list. I
Do you have
think
a
Dylan tries to make at least a conceded effort at the beginning of the draft to make sure that you're not getting some terrible auto pick type of situation. But
do
at
you
some
have
point, that
you
give a
have a
damn leaves.
you have a full list right now? Because I don't have enough for round two yet.
I think I've
Or I
input.
mean for the second day.
Yeah, I think I've input. Let's see.
I got 100 and some. What do you need? Like 130
Yeah,
some picks
I'm
for the.
nowhere. I think I've got 48 put in there now, but I've got that's the list in Stats Lab, not the other lists that I have. I just kind of was like, all right, well, we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah,
And then
I
we can be
I'm
like all the other people in the league where it's like, I still have 20 players on my list, and you implying that the rest of us are just don't know what we're doing.
I've had seasons like that where I've had it, but it's usually when I'm in like the past round 10 and I'm like sorting by, like I say, I look at my high school or my rookie league and say, I don't have any pitchers on that team. And after day one, I draft, I'm like, I still don't have enough pitchers. So like for filling out the rookie league roster, I've like sorted, like I've gone into Stats Lab and just done high school players. You know what I mean? And then in that way, I've put like huge numbers of players in there that I just know are going to be fillers, for rookie league. And because of that, you end up putting a lot more people in there than you really need. So I've had that happen, but it's not that there's super great players on the board, after round 400, but they're filler players.
You mean to tell me you're not just loading up your rookie league team to try to win the rookie league championship, get some extra CP?
I would tell you what I've done is I've sorted by high school stats so that the the pit like players who have really good high school stats, I'm like, okay, there's a decent chance they can, despite what their potential is down the road, there's a decent chance they can provide decent performance at rookie level, and maybe the team doesn't finish dead last. So I've done that before.
And maybe they're really good at Wordle.
I do think that there's probably more likelihood of late round blossoming players in these last few drafts than in the past. We did some podcasts before, it seems like ages ago with you, where we discussed like the lowest draft pick on any given team, and there was a time finding a player below round four on a PEBA team, major league team, was hard to do, like extremely rare.
Yeah, that's blown out of the water now.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while, but I have a sneaking suspicion that there the draft is deeper over the last many seasons, and there are far more late round picks that make it in the big leagues for us.
I was gonna pull it up quick before we dive in too much, but it was yeah, it's the guy I did a trade preseason with Hartford where traded a third baseman Ken Carpenter for a starting pitcher, and Carpenter was a, let's see, I think he was like 13th or 14th. Yeah, 14th round draft pick.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like, and it's been a while, but because I've been in the league, for a long time, and there was a time I had a fifth round pick that made my PEBA roster, and as you know, he wasn't very good, but it was a big deal. I was like, wow, fifth round player. Well, my starting center fielder right now is a fifth round pick. It it was not that common, and I think it's fairly common now.
Yeah, and I would say like from a comparison to other leagues standpoint, I know people get mad about and how long it takes to rebuild a team and out of the park baseball. And it's kind of funny because one, it's like, what is your expectation on how long it takes to rebuild a baseball team? Because no major league team is rebuilding in a year or two. Like you don't go,
More than three. Yeah, you're
yeah.
talking what, three seasons minimum?
I mean, like when the Cubs and Astros did it, it was like 5 years, and that was seen as fast. So I always laugh when people are like, "Oh, it just takes too long to rebuild." It's like we're doing 2 seasons a year on average.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's gonna take
the argument
time.
For PEBA is it is a slower paced league, like we've all discussed in Discord, uh, than a lot of leagues, and you've got to have extreme patience if you're. And we've seen it where people just don't like. You think, and there are certain teams in the league that I thought, well, that team should stink for a couple more seasons, and they start trying. You're like, it takes a tremendous amount of patience. I've done it in PEBA. Um, you could always be Yuma and constantly be patient, but for the rest of us, it takes a lot of patience to do an actual rebuild in PEBA because it's going to take you 2 to 3 actual years to do a
And
full rebuild.
I agree to an extent, but I think honestly, you can do it and with the way that these drafts are, you can do it in a year and a half probably, which would be three of our seasons, year and a half like of real time.
Well, that's a good point. You can like so that strategy would be college players because like even we talked about even the high school players in these drafts that are really good are more developed than I've seen in the past. So you don't have any 10 potential one actual high school player in this draft right now. They tend to be, 4 or 5 in actual when they've got the really high potential. The college players are even higher, as we talked about. To name drop this Jose Martinez, and D'Antonio, they're the top two developed pitcher and hitter in this draft. Um, both of them being college players, but like draft or trying to rebuild through high school players and or international free agents. That takes a lot
That's
longer.
yeah, that's gonna be where you're
Like the number one prospect in the league for the last couple of seasons has been a Reno player, and I signed him in the international league. His name is Paulitos. He's a third baseman, and his potential's off the charts. But his actuals are still really low, and he was like ones across the board when I signed him. And one of the first things I do when the league file comes out is check his potential, make sure he hasn't been annihilated by the game.
yep.
And each season after you sign a guy like that he doesn't tank in potential feels a little bit better, right? Because I don't think it tends to happen as often late. It tends to happen more often early. But anyway, you're right with some of these high actual draft picks. It can shorten that time period, but it's only one way of rebuilding. And some of these high school players aren't, if you're a five in actual or a four, it might take you a couple seasons to develop.
Yeah. It's definitely hard to do, but I think the slow and steady wins the race method, if you can do it, ultimately is probably the best long-term success way. But I realize that people want to compete and you don't want to suck for too long too. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I remember doing it and enjoying it, you know, uh, but I'm looking at my history page and, I've had a stretch, where I was in fifth place, fifth place, fifth place, fifth place, fifth place, sixth place, fourth place. So that's a long stretch of losing.
yeah,
uh, I lost 100 games, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons in a row, and then uh, 170, and then the next season won 94, 99, 89, 92. So, and then I ran a 4 season stretch of making the postseason, but it was everybody hates the T word, but it was a concerted effort to not be good for a period of time in order to accumulate the talent that I thought was necessary. And I remember specifically that when I got ready to be good, I also traded away draft picks for people who were ready to fill spots that I needed to fill, signing free agents, you know, lining everything up, for that run. And it was quite enjoyable. But, losing 100 games for 4 seasons in a row was not fun.
yeah. Well, and then the other side of it is like there's always the talk about tearing everything down, and I don't think you have to tear everything down to kind of just have a reset year or reload or whatever you want to call it. You don't have to basically trade everything asset away to kind of reset your timeline or that
You're
either.
totally correct. The thing is, but there's a time for a reload, but there's a time for a rebuild. I mean, there's a time for a tear down. Again, not to beat a dead horse here, but you know, uh, 1, 2, 3. There's five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 seasons of 100 losses. You can't argue that I don't have patience to go through 500 plus lost seasons. I don't know how much real time that was, but it was 2 plus years of being bad. And and the goal was not to be bad. The goal was to build a championship. Now I've never won it, but I thought that put me in the best position to do it. So I was willing to to sacrifice for those years in order to try and get it. And again, it opened up a window of 4 consecutive playoff appearances. But I think I might have got. I've been to the championship game twice. I think lost both times, obviously, but it's fun. It's a great feeling. I loved both of them, even though they were heart wrenching at the time, because you don't expect to win. I've been there at least twice. I think twice. Didn't expect to win either time. That didn't mean it didn't hurt when you lose. you know.
Well, I think it's a fair point too. We've made it in the past, but when you are going through a rebuild, reload, whatever you want to call it, retool, your expectations or what a success is for your organization is different than what another team's evaluation of success for that season is. And I think too many times people get so focused on winning the whole thing. And realistically, it's nice when opening day comes around and everyone thinks that they have if all these pieces fall the right way, somehow they're going to have a shot. But the reality is, probably have like 10 teams that realistically could really make a run at at it. And I mean, I guess you could go with the amount of playoff teams, but even then, like realistically, you got a third of the league that's competing for a championship. You've got the people in the middle that are kind of in that gray area of are you ready, are you not? And then the other third where you just your your evaluation of success is different. And I think too many times that's just what people start getting frustrated or whatever. And it's like, did you really thought like you were winning the World Series or the Rodriguez Cup this year? Like, no, like most like I mean the running joke in my league for years is yeah, oh, you got to go through Florida. And it's like, if you're a bottom 10 team, are you going through Florida? Like, if you did a ten series with Florida, are you winning one of them? Like, maybe? Like,
Right. I think for me at least, I don't like so the Avas, arguably the team to run through in my league. Um, I don't really build a team to try and beat the Avas. I try to build a team that can get into the postseason. Like that's the goal every season. It's like, well, when you're not losing 100 or 120 games a year, but the goal last season, the goal this season was to get in any way I can and then see where things go. But it's not easy to make the postseason. I've done it. I've been somewhat successful at it. I'm not Florida. I'm not the Avas, but I've been able to get into the postseason a decent number of times. But it's really hard to do. So the goal should be just get in any way you can, and then you just got to try to roll the dice. You can get a hot streak. Remember the season we talked about it. The season where I went to the championship series with Florida. I got super hot at the end of the season, and I rode a hot streak right through the playoffs. And I remember I haven't looked at it again, but I tore through a lot of teams in a short number of games. And it's not because I was better than them. It's because I was the hot team. They weren't. I got lucky. Florida turned out to be a buzzsaw that year, and my lucky streak ran out. But you know, I was riding a wave, and I enjoyed every second of it. And anybody could do that. You can get in and ride a wave. So just try to get in.
yeah, so hopefully that increases the trade market after the draft because it's pretty dead right now.
We've talked about that. I think it will. I think that my theory, and I'd like to get into some of these players. My theory on that is that you and I have been quite vocal about juiced drafts. And I think this draft has a significant number of quality players, at least as we see them now, you know, and I think that's suppressing the trade market. Why would you want to trade away your first round pick when you you could land, you know, Jose Martinez in the first round. You're not landing D'Antonio unless you're selecting in the top two. But some of these guys, we just don't know where they're going to go, which slot they're going to get, how far down they're going to fall.
Yeah, and
And
it's not just potential. It's like you're
yeah, there's some
having a
there's
guy
some
coming
players.
in.
I loved it. Looking at making my draft pick, one of the fun things that I was doing was looking at the players. Is it expectation?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking at expectation. The number of players who expect to play in the majors now in this draft is astronomical. Like it was mind-boggling how many players. I really wish we had a way of going back in time and looking at 5 seasons ago how many players expected to be playing in the majors, playing in PEBA at the time of the draft. There's no way this number, I could be wrong, but I would be incredibly surprised if this number of players were expecting to play in PEBA
I mean
from the
it
draft 5 seasons ago.
it impacts playoff races. There's no arguing that. I mean,
The Avas.
Kamari last year falling to the Avas. won the AVAs that
I,
division. That
I
would not have
swore
happened.
on draft. I swore out loud on draft day when he fell, when Tamari fell to the Avis, because I'm
Second
like,
best pitcher in the
oh,
draft.
one of
Second
the
best pitcher in the draft.
one of the best pitchers in the game fell to one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, and
That
it
was
wasn't like falling a spot or two. It was like the 13th pick or something. Like it was significant
yeah.
falling.
So
Not Aaron Rodgers falling into the back end of the first round, but almost.
all
So
right,
yeah,
so
let's talk about we'll set the parameters. We're gonna go by Scott's top 10 list here.
yeah, I'm not. I have no. I'm not sharing my screen because I don't know if I could cut off below 10. I don't want everybody seeing what my scout says about the 26th overall selection, but uh, I'll tell you who my top 10 scouts picks are. So I did the draft list, and I'm looking at it. I'm like, I've got it raises an eyebrow. Everyone's got a strategy, and I don't go strictly. Sean, do you go strictly by your scout, or do you have a bunch of parameters that you use? Your scout being just one tool that you use for the draft day.
Scouts, like the first thing I do is just go see who they project, and then I run my other checks and then
Yeah,
start building my list off of
me
that.
too. Scout's not the end all be all for me, but it's number one. It's like the first thing in the order, and then so I'll like go through Stats Lab and I'll put in players according to my scouts list for not like 100, but for like up to my first round pick. I'll put them in order of my scout, and then I'll put these other tools that I like to use to move players around.
I like watching it during the draft because there might be a guy that your scout likes, and for some reason they're still available, and then
Yeah,
you
because
kind of
nobody
do
else
that
likes them.
double. Yeah, you do that double check of like, did I miss something here, or did the league miss something, or is it just that this guy is just really doesn't have a position, or
Yeah,
everyone
and
sees it.
I have a decent scout. So let's before we do this, let me check. I don't have it memorized, but I think my scout is pretty decent.
Yeah, the most decent scout ever.
Yeah, no, he's legendary for amateurs, favors ability. So, and I do have my
Outstanding scout minors and excellent scout majors. So when you're
yeah, and
dealing
I've
with
got
Scott, don't try to tell them that your scout knows more than his.
my, mine's legendary. People, I
Yeah.
have my amateur budget set at 59% because mostly because I was blocked out of international. So I put a lot of so again, the majority of my scouting of my budget is in amateur scouting. So theoretically, my scouts should be trusted, right?
You would think.
And having said that, it's only one tool. I think you should never just only use the scout. There are other things that I'm not. We're
If
not going to sit here and tell
if
everybody
Greg,
exactly how we
I was
do
gonna
it.
say if Greg is listening still at this point, he would probably tell you that your scout is full of shit, and Greg's
Greg,
ranking is what.
Greg, if he's listening, is yelling at his computer screen or his TV. When I watch these, I watch them on my TV. If you watch these things on your TV, it's pretty fun.
I think it's better, but I'm of the opinion that I'm to a point in my life where I can afford a nice screen, so why would you watch it on
Oh,
a phone or
yeah,
now if I'll get you I'll give you if you're coming home from work and you have it in your car or you're riding a train home or whatever and you're
that's a
listening, that's
we.
one thing. But if you're at home, I like to watch it on a nice
Let's
screen.
post a poll. Let's do a poll. How do you consume our podcasts? Right. The options are you listen on your phone, right? You watch on your computer, you watch on your phone, which I guess people do that, but it's so small. And then
As I
watch on the
say,
TV.
yeah.
Because I watch them on the TV, but that's only because I'm a laptop guy. My kids have fancy computer setups because they're gamers on their computers, but I don't. The only game on my computer is out of the park. I don't game on my computer. I play video games, but I play them on the Xbox on a nice TV with a high definition. So my kids call me a console rat.
Okay, Council Rat, then let's just we could go on and on about the Council Wars, and I'm sure there'll be people in the comments that if they're still watching at this point will chime in, but let's get back to the draft. Or let's see. It's not our
So
Super Bowl. It's just our
no, it's not a Super Bowl. It's very anticipated. I think probably the most anticipated event of the season because of the possibilities. I would ask you, Sean, can you remember a time where there was a more clear cut first overall pick than this season with Anthony D'Antonio? Because I know uh, the Hitmen, Michael has the first overall pick. Um, he has not, to my knowledge, stated who he's going to select, but I would be incredibly surprised. Nothing's impossible, but I would be incredibly surprised if D'Antonio is not the first overall selection in this draft.
I know he had expressed in the past concern about D'Antonio's stamina, but
It is listed as a 5 according to my scout. OSA also has it as a 5.
I'm to the so one of the things I noticed when I first joined the league was that pitchers go a lot deeper in this league than what they do in standard leagues that you would start a default league out of the box or what I'm used to. And even if D'Antonio goes 5 innings, really that's he's going to give you five high level, high quality innings pretty much every start, if not more. And I think strategy wise, there's things you can do with adjustments that will probably push that into six pretty easily. So
I think D'Antonio is more likely a 6 to 7 average innings pitcher. I had a pitcher who's now a coach for me that I drafted in the first round early, and he had a 4 stamina, and he averaged like 5.6 or 5.7 innings throughout his career with a 4 stamina. I don't think he had the ratings that. The other thing you got to remember is D'Antonio's ratings in all areas are far superior to a lot of pitchers in this league, and
yeah,
that will help the innings count. Like, yes, the
he's going to
stamina,
strike out a lot of guys with
yeah,
three
the
pitches
stamina is
or
an
four pitches.
issue, but it's less of an issue because of how high his potential is and how high his actual ratings are.
I've never seen a starting pitcher come into the league, and people will criticize stars, but that high of stars with that high of potential being able to not only just come into the league and not have any minor league experience, but come into the league and you're arguably what pitcher in the IL right now is better than D'Antonio? Like
So
Brewster?
yeah,
Like,
so oh, you're right. So he's got 227 innings pitched in college and 41 starts. So 227 divided by 41, he's averaging 5.53 innings per game um, in college. So you're right. Maybe he is a 5 to 6, but I'm with you. I think he rivals, and we can do a compare. He rivals
yeah,
Brewster in his ratings. And again, it's not just his. My scouts got him an 8 out of 9 stuff, an 8 out of 9 movement, an 8 out of 9 home runs allowed, an 8 out of 8 pitcher BABIP. a 6 out of 8 control. So there's the one area where he can still improve. And I think that's probably pretty typical for younger pitchers. If there's going to be an area that lags, it might be control. And then he's got slider, changeup, sinker, and he's got a 10 out of 10 slider. So his slider is completely and totally developed, according to my scout. A 9 out of 10 changeup and a 7 out of 8 sinker. Like the one knock on him, other than his stamina, is that he doesn't hold runners. He's got a 2 hold runner, which I think will be interesting with our massive increase in stolen bases this season. But that's a subject for another day.
The thing is, he's not going to have to hold many runners because there's not going to be anybody on base.
Well, that's a good point. That's a very good
But
point.
I've
Well,
got
so
pulled up right. I've
Sean,
got pulled up right now, just the whole entire league's starting pitchers, and there's one 5-star starting pitcher, and that's Bob Brewster. There are no 4.5-star starting pitchers. There are, let's see, one, two, three,
so by stars alone, he would be the second rated pitcher in the league the day he was
coming out of
drafted.
college. Yeah. And there are 9 4-star pitchers. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna increase. I know we talked about it before we went on camera. I said he was a 90% chance to go number one overall. I'm gonna bump it up to 99%. Like I'll give you a 1% that anything could happen. That Hitman Michael will throw everybody a curveball just for the curveball sake. But I don't. It's been a long time since I remember a such a clear cut number one overall selection than D'Antonio. I mean, heck,
well,
you
I'm
you
just
and I
I'm
can.
just not concerned about the stamina because you like look at a guy like Havana's starting pitcher Jack Sosa. He's got 4 stamina and he's projected to pitch 226 innings this year.
Holy cow!
So I just don't. And if you take this year out of it and go back the last 3, he's pitching 190 for the last 2, and then 192 the season before that. So
If
even if
D'Antonio,
D'Antonio pitches 180, that's
yeah,
still
I'm with you. If he averages 180 innings for you, this is like the one. He's like one of the most clear cut aces in the league,
and the
other than
crazy
maybe.
thing is like you start looking at guys outside of Brewster and ratings wise, there's no starting pitcher in the league right now outside of Brewster that is anywhere close ratings wise.
All right,
It's
let let's because D'Antonio is
but like you said,
clearly the gem of this draft class. There's just no doubt about it.
well, and
Um,
early on, the number 2 guy that we thought that we've highlighted multiple times now is less. I think less of a sure number 2 pick, and that was the outfielder. Was it Martinez?
yeah, so I would say regardless of what your team, where your team is, or what your current team strategy is, if D'Antonio is on the board when you're selecting, you pick him. I don't care if you're the best team in the league. I don't care if you're the worst team in the league. D'Antonio is your selection if he's on the board. Having said that, once D'Antonio is taken off the board, I think that factors come into play. So if you're a rebuilding team, I can see you going with what my scout says is the number 2 overall pick in this. I'm going to butcher his first name. Tomohiko Ikeda, a high school pitcher. So I could see this guy going second overall. I like him. I like him a lot. My scout loves him, obviously, but like if I had the second overall pick, it might make more sense for me to draft Jose Martinez, the left fielder, because of where how far he's developed. Because that player can actually help my team win today, which I'm trying to do. But if you're rebuilding, if you're what place is I got to look at the standings. I'm embarrassed to say I don't know Kalamazoo's current.
Well, they have a winning record right now. They're 27 and 24, so
So
they're a half game out of a wild card spot.
Yeah, that's an interesting question for them. Like, who's their left? Like, do they have a spot for Jose Martinez?
Well, and it gets to the appetite of the
Yeah,
GM too on like how willing you are to trade because
yeah. So these are all valid questions. Like, so we talked about, like, I'm not sure that I could predict the top five in order. Could you? Like,
no,
I, I,
you don't.
I could, I could probably predict like five out of the top seven, like, but not the order, right?
Well, and even knowing who we'll know for sure tonight after the sim on the draft order because there might be a last second trade. Who knows? But we've got New Jersey, Kalamazoo, Okinawa, Havana, Okinawa for the top five. And even knowing kind of how those GMs build teams, I don't think either of us can say we confidently can pick the top five.
But let's talk about this Aikida guy. Actually, if you look at him, so his potential is in basic pitching ratings is not as good, but the sheer number of superior pitches far exceeds. Like D'Antonio has what, three? This guy's got a again. Look, let me see. I'm gonna check OSA. Okay, so OSA is not drastically off from my scout, but I'm gonna continue to do the Zephyr's scout when I cite these numbers, not OSA. But OSA is not much different. So my scout says his potential: nine fastball, 10 slider, 10 curveball, nine changeup, nine sinker, and an eight cutter. That is a remarkable number of superior level pitches for a starting pitcher. The difference between him and D'Antonio is age and development. This guy's got a ways to go. Now, I got a very high accuracy, but it says personality class is unknown. So I don't see anything on work ethic. But if he's got a decent work ethic, there's not a whole lot here. And he's got, strangely enough, his senior year in high school has the highest ERA at 4.22. But there's no red flags on this guy, right? Do you see anything that says, oh, he's not going to develop?
No, I mean his development. My scout has his development risk at medium, so it's not.
If he, let's face it,
As a
if
high
he
schooler, he's less risky than what
than
we
a lot of high school
standardly would
and
say.
way less risky than any international free agent that we sign, right?
Yeah,
So if he reaches his potential, this is a guy who could be one of the best pitchers in the game at some point. You
and I
just
think if you're drafting at the top of the draft, you have if you're drafting of who has the lowest floor, you're not going to get over the hump in the long run. Like you kind of have to take a dart throw on when there's a guy like this available. If there's no one available, then yeah, I can understand taking a low
well, there
floor
are
or a high
yeah,
floor
there are
guy. But
yeah. Look, I think there are people in our league that put a higher premium on the floor than the ceiling, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. For me personally, it depends on where my team is. If I'm in a rebuilding mode, I'm looking at ceiling, not floor.
yeah,
If I'm trying to win, I might be a little more inclined to sacrifice some ceiling for a higher floor.
well, and with Aikido, you don't need what six. You don't need all six pitches to be eights or higher. Like if you get
Right.
four of them to that level,
And
he's right there with Brewster and right there, right behind D'Antonio. So
my scouts got each one of those pitches fairly well developed.
yeah,
Uh, not high, but he's almost halfway to full potential, almost in every single pitch. So I don't see Aikida as a risk. I think with these top five or so picks, I think it really matters on personal philosophy of the GM who's selecting these guys and where their teams are, like what their immediate goals are.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would be thinking that if I were let's see, what would we say, the Shiza were a third pick? Like,
Oh, that if
I mean,
Ikeda falls,
if Kalamazoo goes Martinez and he's available for the Shiza, I think Matt's probably just licking his chops happy at that
if I'm
point.
Okinawa, I'm praying that Ikeda falls to me because I'm not trying to beat up on him, but like it's just not a good team right now. They've got a
No, but
window.
if you can add that guy and then another one in the
Yeah.
top five and you're building
Their,
around it for a couple years, like,
yeah, their window of winning is not this season, right?
yeah,
So
it's not this
that
season
puts
and probably not next year either. So,
yeah, so that puts Aikida as a perfect chip for you to have, who will be, fully developed and ready to win when you are.
and I know that, they've made some moves in the offseason trading away a couple of their starting pitchers and have some nice prospects in their system already, but they're all in that right out of high school, right out of international pool age. So, yeah, Aikido would probably fit really nicely in there because he's right in that same window. You don't have to rush any of these guys. And I don't know, we talk about trades being win-wins. I think all three of those teams would all be happy with probably getting, one of those players in the top three. Maybe the order's not the same, but
Yeah, again, I think when I look at my scouts' recommendations for the top five, I would actually even go the top six because my scouts got the guy that's rated number six. I like better than sixth, so I'll go with that. But these are quality looking players that while they may not be ready to, they're not like of them. I think D'Antonio wants to play in the majors, so yep. Not only does he want to, he needs to. Aikida does not. Uh, and well, I'll bring up the number three on my scouts list. He does not. It's another high school pitcher, and I'm gonna do my best on the name. Teok Caillou Chang. Another
Matt can probably correct us on what the
maybe
proper,
matches.
yeah.
Aikido was
Aikida, I think we got right, but
okay. This guy looks really good too. One of the significant differences between him and Aikida, I think, is the sheer number of superior pitches is better with Aikida. This guy's got three high quality pitches, and his stuff potential nine, movement seven, home runs allowed seven, pitcher BABIP six, and control seven. Curveball 10, changeup 10, cutter 8 with a 7 stamina and a 6 hold runners. Got a 1.71 ERA this season in high school, and his career all four seasons 2.13 ERA in 41 innings or 41 games started, 199 innings pitched. So I think the the innings pitched per start is suppressed in high school because I think they just suppress them. I think they just don't let high school pitchers in PEBA, and I don't think it maybe even in real life they don't let them go as long. So I don't know that that's a true way to judge how many innings they're going to pitch in PEBA
yeah,
because he's got a 7 stamina, and if we did the math on him, I think it would come up pretty
it
low.
would be come out the same or lower than what D'Antonio was putting out, and it's
And
like,
I don't think I'd like a 7 stamina in PEBA is going to get you 200. You know, it's going to get you pretty damn close to 200 innings pitched, right?
I think so. And I think, yeah, It seems like now, honestly, it's just
Yeah, this guy's 4.8.
yeah.
So,
So
you're not getting less than 5 innings out of seven stamina when he gets to the big league. So I don't think his stats are going to help you judge. I think you got to look at the ratings. And a seven stamina is perfectly fine, obviously. So this guy looks great. You know, if he was on the board when I was picking, you know, I
I
would
mean, I
definitely.
think if you would have asked the top five of last year if they would have rather had this top five than the last top
That's
five, they would all have said yes.
that's a good point. Yeah, if we would go back and look at some of the players selected last year,
I mean,
um,
just looking at the starting pitchers in this draft, there
this
are
is a pitching.
many.
This is a high school pitchers heavy draft. I was looking at it again, and there are a lot of my scouts got. I'll tell you this: I'm not going to give you all their names, but uh, in the top 10, he's got five high school pitchers in his top 10. So half of them are high school pitchers.
And I know Dylan has said that to be weary that some of the ratings look better than what they actually are. But when you look at high school guys and they're coming in at 4 or 5 ratings, that's different than what historically you would see with high school type players. So
Well, look at our drafts. Like
yeah,
I think it is very hard to pass up a 4 to 5 star high school pitcher, 4 to 5 star potential if you've got an opportunity to get one of these guys. I think, they don't
yeah, I mean
grow
their
on
current
trees.
ratings are twos, like
Yeah.
or their current rating is a 2 star. So it's not like they're coming in at a half star, 1 star, 1.5. They're very well. A lot of them are very well developed already for being a high schooler. So there's risk. I mean, there's always risk, but relative to what? Like, are we basing it on? There's definitely some college starting pitchers in there that really have no development left or very little development left. But I guess what's your risk tolerance? I know that if I'm drafting at the top of the draft, I want to maximize what that potential or what the potential could be versus taking a college guy that's, you know, yeah, that would be a number 4 starter for you, like
Well,
at the
that's a
top
good
of the
point.
draft.
So of the top five for my scout, only and D'Antonio is a college player. All the others are high schoolers. So that brings us to the number four, according to my scout, which I find an interesting one. And I think he might. I would I would be surprised if he doesn't go a little higher than four. And that's the first hitter that my scout has is Mauro Ramos, a third baseman, 18-year-old. His potential ratings, according to my scout, let's do the old OSA check. OSA has him pretty darn close. Nine contact, eight BABIP, nine avoid K, eight gap, eight power, and five I. As far as defense goes, he's a six range, a six error, an eight arm, and a three-turn double play. One of the notable thing, not much of a runner. He's like four speed and sixes for stealing and base running, but he does have high loyalty, high work ethic, and low financial ambition, which is a nice little personality class that, those are a good combination of traits to have in a player that you draft. I like him. I like him a lot. He's, according to my scout, a 5 star potential player. And even though he's a high schooler, like you've said before, Sean, he's quite developed according to my scout. for a high school player.
I mean, if he goes up one in every rating, he's probably better than half the league's third baseman already. Like,
Yeah, yeah, you might be right. I would not put him in the big. He does. His expectation is not to play in the majors right now. So he's definitely like at 18 years old. I don't know if I would start him in rookie ball, but you could. I would definitely consider starting him in short season and move him quickly. Um, I would be apprehensive to let him mash away for long periods of time at any level. So if he's crushing it after a sim or two, I'm moving him up until he stops crushing it, right?
yeah, I just pulled the relative ratings up on him, and my scout has him as a 3-star current player at A ball. And I'm
Which
like,
I
if
which I think
that's
definitely plays at A ball, right? Like so that might be where you start him.
yeah, because
You
it
know,
drops down to
obviously,
2.5 at double A and then
yeah, everyone's got their own
2.5 at
strategy.
triple A. But
I would just, if anybody was asking me, not that they are, I would be very apprehensive about letting him mash for too long at any level. I would promote him if he was
yeah,
up to AAA. Like if he has like a 900 OPS at AAA, I would just let him roll, right? Because I don't think that's a big like an 18-year-old playing in PEBA. Like, do we have any? Like, is there any precedent there? I would be
I think they're
comfortable.
going. We might have one in a year or two.
Yeah, I'd be comfortable with him in the minors at any level, but if he's crushing it and he's got somewhere to be promoted, I would do it.
Well, that's where it's just after the D'Antonio pick, depending on what your organization needs. If you're not competing right now, third base is a harder spot to find premium players than a corner outfielder spot. And then it's like, do you take Ramos over Martinez? Because
Yeah, so that's a good point. So
from a
like for me, I probably wouldn't, but I might. But because I'm banking on Paulitos, making it to the majors, and he's basically the same age as this guy. But uh, you can make an easy argument. My scout clearly thinks this guy should be selected above Jose Martinez. It's just depending on where you are. Like Jose Martinez would start for my team, like right now. If he was on the board at 24, and he's not going to be, he's getting selected by the Reno Zephyrs. I mean, we're drafting him and we're playing him.
oh, I just figured it out. We'll just move Paulitos over to first base since he's 6'4", and then this
That is a
Ramos
good
is
point.
only 5'9", so
Yeah, because
we'll just move Ramos.
Paulito's he kind of sucks at defense, and this guy, I like this guy's defense. I think the sixes at range and error are perfectly acceptable, and the arm at 8 plays. The turn double, you don't like turn double plays are not something you need at third base. So a 3 turn double play is nothing to be alarmed about. If anything, if you're okay at developing, and he should develop, I would probably consider winter ball to bump his arm up, try and get his arm up to a 9. Because if you go 6'6", 9 on the arm, that's a
That'll play.
that's a superior defensive third baseman.
Yeah.
He would be the best third baseman in the league if he develops to his potential.
And I mean, there's nothing there glaring that's gonna say that he's not gonna get somewhere close to that potential. Um,
All right, let's move on. So,
yeah.
it
Sorry, I thought we
may
cut out there for a second. It uploaded the file from the previous one, and I was like, oh,
so my scout at number 5, and I'm gonna extend this to 6. I'm gonna talk about 6 because I think 6 has to be talked about since my scout has a guy named another high school pitcher, Kane Cusack, as the 5th overall selection. This young right-handed pitcher has a 5 potential stuff, 8 movement, 9 home runs allowed, 6 pitcher BABIP, 10 control. So I think you combine a 9 home runs allowed with a 10 control, and you've got a significantly good starting pitcher. And he's got four pitches, but really only three. He's got a nine slider, nine curveball, a three changeup, and a nine sinker. So he's got three superior pitches and a changeup that is probably never going to develop.
Well, and
Um,
if you're in the camp of movement means everything, he's got a
so
higher movement than some of the other starting
yeah,
pitchers. His control
I
is
am
high.
in that camp. I think suppressing home runs are an extremely important trait for pitching. I think hitting home runs is an extremely important, maybe not as important as stolen bases are recently, but I think that speaking of which, this guy's got a seven stamina and a six hold runners. So based on the change in stolen base success rate, I've been paying more attention to hold runners ratings because that can be helpful. What do they say? Like no stolen base is stolen off of the catcher. It's always stolen off the pitcher. So while catcher arm's helpful, I think keeping an eye on that hold runners is important. But this guy, he's got a high work ethic and high adaptability, low leader. Um,
And he's already blown out his right elbow, so we
does
don't
he
have to
got the
worry
injury
about him
history?
blowing out.
Well, considering my second round selection, Craig Spence, I am a little gun shy on injury history. Craig Spence, not to beat a dead horse here, has not been able to pitch. He's been injured more than he's been alive, I think. And this injury history here, I'm looking sprained ankle, okay, not a big deal. In 2044, torn elbow ligament, more of an issue. He was out for 11 months for that one in 2043, and a sore back for a week. The ankle and the back don't concern me, but an elbow injury does. I will tell you that Spence, who's just been a nightmare when it comes to injuries, he did have, I think, multiple elbow issues. So I think one elbow issue, not terrible, multiple elbow issues on a draft pick, and I think you got to be very. It should be your spidey senses should be tingling when you got multiple elbow injuries.
Do you worry with a guy like Cusack about his salary bonus demand?
Is he the highest? He's at 3.8 according
That
to mine.
3.8, and I'm just looking at like the number one slot is 2.8. So do you think people care about that?
I don't really look at it. I look at signability. Like I haven't seen. Have you saw him? Like I haven't seen an impossible. Impossible sucks. It's just like
Yeah,
why
it's not worth doing. Yeah.
like I think they may have gotten rid of it. Is there? They still have impossible?
In my other league, they're still impossible, but right now I just
Well, for
filtered
like
by
well for
batters
us
and didn't see
Well, for us
any.
in PEBA, since you don't get a draft pick, like impossible should be like remove them
Red
from the
flag,
draft.
they shouldn't even be in the pool,
I don't. I'm trying to sort by that. I don't see it, but
which,
again,
yeah, I
if
don't.
there's
I
an
sorted by,
impossible,
yeah, let's see. Yeah, nope. It's showing extremely hard for everyone.
good. Okay, so extremely hard.
Maybe
It
Frank
doesn't.
can tell the developers, though, that like there should be no fluctuation from the time of draft day to the end of the draft day on what a player's demand is. It's either this or that. Because I've had plenty of times where you go and you see a guy will sign for slot, and then it comes time to sign them, and they want way more than slot, and it's like, then just put what their actual demand is. Like if they weren't demanding slot, then like don't even put slot as an option, I guess is my point. Like if they're
Yep.
expecting to be a first round pick and they're not taken in the first round, then their demand should be that of within the range of a first round pick and just leave it at that, because I would think it would still be a problem if you were playing the game in a solo league or whatever. Like if you go and you draft a guy and it says they're going to sign for slot, and then you go to sign them and it changes, that's not realistic. Like all these teams know what these guys are going to like in Major League Baseball. The reason why the top 10 sometimes is a little, they're like, why did this guy go number one and not three? Because all these teams have negotiations ahead of time with these guys. Like, hey, will you take a little bit below slot so that we can sign this high school guy with our, like third round pick or whatever? They do all that, and there's times where there's guys will sign way below just to be a first round pick, and it's it's a weird concept that I don't know if OTP is trying to like add that part of it in, but it's hard for me like when you're where it's a because a lot of people forget this is a financial sim too. So you have a certain amount of money that you can use to sign these draft picks, and it kind of is a big deal when your league votes to get rid of compensation for draft picks if they don't sign and they're one of your top guys and you just don't have the money to sign them. So I don't know. We've been going on for a while, so Frank might have already turned off, but
Well, one last player, my sixth overall, according to my scout. I know we said we're going to do the top five, but is that Jose Martinez, the left fielder? I really think he's a right fielder, not a left fielder, because he's got a 9 outfield arm. But I like this guy. I like him a lot. He's performed extremely well in college with his statistics, and his ratings and potential are spectacular, in my opinion. 7 contact, 7 BABIP, 7 avoid K, 7 gap, 9 power, 5 I. And I'm telling you, there's not a lot of 9 power guys in our league right now. So this guy would be, and his actual is pretty high. Um, so he would be one of the best power hitters in the league the day he was drafted. He does want to play. His expectation is to play in the majors right now. So another one of those guys who can go right from the draft to the majors.
yeah, I just filtered based on my scouts ratings, and there are 4 players in the league right now with a 9 or higher power rating, and only one of them has a higher contact rating than 5. So he's coming in as
And that
one of
BABIP,
the top
that
power
BABIP
guys.
and that avoid K are important. Like, so I've had power hitters who had lower contact, lower BABIP, lower avoid K, and their power numbers decrease because they're just not making contact enough. But when you have a high level of contact, you're putting the ball in play a lot, you don't strike out a lot, and you have a 9 power, you're going to mash a ton of home runs, like 40 plus.
Yeah, honestly, I'm surprised we didn't see more. I know there was one trade in the top 5 pick wise, but I'm surprised that there weren't more teams that were in that middle tier that did, make a move that people would criticize as an overpay, but to get up to get one of these guys that are ready to go right now because Martinez is one of those guys where,
It is interesting. Yeah. So, like, some of these guys who are ready to play now are going to be drafted by teams that are not ready to win now, right?
yeah,
So, that's where, again, like last season with Tamari going to the Abas, that was a guy who was, a quality arm, ready to play now and go into like one the best, like the team who won the championship, and he gets, one of these guys to fall to him. So again, there's different strategies that people should be employing for where their team is and where they are in building that team.
yeah. Well, it's going to cut us off here, Scott. So it's a good point to just say we'll see everyone on Saturday. And
Yeah. We hope we gave them something to think about before draft day, right?
yeah,
From the lakes of Duluth to Havana's warm breeze, Reno's desert lights glow where the crowd's ever free. Shinsaki's wars with the bats held high. Yuma sandlot dreams touch the wide open sky. Palm Springs breathes the heat where the sun always shines. 32 teams united, crossing every line. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the PEBA gate. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the back to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, oh, oh. PEBA's fire as the bases are run. New Orleans rhythm swings till the battle is won. Tempest rolling the dice with the fastball surprise. Toyota's precision lights up in our eyes. Now machines are strong where the dust meets the dream. Florida's golden fields where the champions gleam. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. From the dirt to the diamond, we're chasing the call. The roar of the fans, yeah, we're giving our all. Swing for the stars in the PEBA game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 PEBA's the name. Oh, 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 we're changing the game. 32 dreams, one world, one fight. From dusk till dawn, we're burning so bright. Every pitch, every hit, every play in the zone. The Planetary Baseball Alliance, we're never alone. From the fields to the stands, hear the planet unite. PEBA's the spark and we're taking flight. Swing for the stars in the PEBA game. Global fire, every city's aflame. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the fight. Planetary extreme, we're igniting the night. Oh, 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 PEBA's the name. Changing the game. So raise up your gloves, let the banners fly high. From San Juan to Kalamazoo, we're reaching the sky. Planetary Extreme Baseball Alliance, where the legends are born. Swing for the stars, let the world